You're listening to Birthing Hope, a podcast designed to inspire women to create hope-filled lives in mind, body, and spirit. Living a hope-filled life means allowing light to be birthed in dark places. And although the world is full of darkness, you are pregnant with light. Join me every other Wednesday as I have real conversations with inspiring women designed to encourage you to push through the darkness and birth hope in your life and in the lives of those around you. My name is Dawn Koufakis-Basel. I am a Christ follower, author, artist, wife, and mom of 8. I will be your host and midwife as we take on the task of shining our lights and birthing hope into a dimly lit world. We've got hope to birth. Time to push. Hello, ladies. This is your host, Dawn Koufakis-Basel. Welcome to episode 7 of the Birthing Hope podcast. I know for a fact that I am not alone when I say that I am constantly faced with, and I listed them, overwhelmed, overextended, overtired, overworked, overavailable, overcommitted, over-obligated, overlooked, and overused. And I'm over feeling over. But here's a question. Why do we as women continuously struggle with this? The answer is a lack of healthy boundaries. My guest today is Dawn Koufakis-Basel. She is a life coach and founder of Precipice Life Coaching. She is a speaker and women's empowerment coach, and she is also the author of Drawing Your Line, Setting Boundaries Step by Step. Dawn regularly teaches a 2-part class for women entitled Creating Boundaries 101. So when it comes to setting parameters, Dawn is our go-to resource. Ladies, I hope you brought your pencil because today, Dawn is going to sharpen them as we discuss the hope in drawing your line. Welcome, Dawn. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is awesome.
Yes.
Great timing.
So one thing that I would love all of you to know is that I have spent a lifetime looking up to this woman because she is my first cousin. And first cousins in our families is just like being sisters. So yes. I am excited and happy to have you here with us today, Dawn, because as you know, I recently reached out to you because of this feeling of absolutely being just overly stressed, overwhelmed, not being able to find and create space for myself in my life and struggling to find that. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, there are so many women who are struggling with this. And so I think first things first is like, let's just jump into it because I believe that a lot of people don't really understand or know or realize even what boundaries are. So Help the people, help us.
I think that when you say the word boundaries, people have different takes on what that means for them, right? A lot of the time, especially for women, the word boundaries strikes a chord as something negative, putting up walls, pushing people away, being aggressive, saying no to everything. And that is truly not what boundaries are. Boundaries are the rules we create to navigate our lives. Boundaries demonstrate self-respect, self-value, and self-worth.
Yes.
Okay? Self-worth, worthiness. So when you have boundaries in your life, the thing that you call to yourself is peace. You eliminate the chaos that all that unnecessary yes brings into your life. And a lot of times we find ourselves in conundrums and surrounded by chaos and overwhelmed because we don't think we're worthy of saying, no, it's not a good time for that. No, I'm not willing to commit to that right now. I don't have time for that. I need to take care of me right now. Right? Because associated with this desire to take care of ourselves is a certain sense of a feeling that we are being selfish.
Yes.
That somehow brings on a shame, that triggers shame in a lot of us. And we as women, we are designed to be nurturers. That is our nature. We are born into the world to care, to take care of. But we are great at turning that out externally and taking care of people in our lives that we love, especially as mothers. It just comes with the territory. Become pregnant, and all of a sudden something gets turned on in your body that automatically says you are focused on these human beings and nothing else matters.
Right.
And look, that has a place and a time. When you have small children, especially babies, there's not a whole lot of personal time you can carve out for yourself reasonably,
Right.
unless you have a great support system. So we get almost trained into this way of thinking. And then, of course, the regular day-to-day of life.
Yes.
Who takes care of the house? Who takes care of the grocery shopping? Who takes care of the cooking? Even if you have a full-time
Right.
job. It's more and more men are stepping up and stepping in to those spaces and coming alongside, and some even taking over the responsibilities of some of those responsibilities. But by and large, women are the go-to doers.
Yes.
So when it comes time for you to have an opportunity to carve out a space in your closet where you can sit and meditate for 20 minutes, or write in a journal, or take on a personal challenge for yourself with no one else involved, it can feel overwhelming.
Yes.
Because to cut out any of those responsibilities that call to us constantly can make us feel shameful. It can make us feel even more old. And the easiest way to unburden ourselves is to cut ourselves out of the responsibility list.
Right. Right. And it's like these rules that we are constantly trying to live up to. We see these other mothers or other wives or other women, whether you're a wife or a mother or not, constantly comparing ourselves to what someone else is doing, to what society standards say that we are supposed to do as a career woman or as a wife or as a mother or as a combination of the three. And your kids are supposed to be this, and your husband is supposed to be that, and your house should look like this, and you should be all put together. All of these expectations that we end up falling for, and we then allowing society and everyone around us to create these lines for us, which really are non-existent, because there aren't any lines. It's like every single thing in your life begins to bleed together when you do not have that designated space for yourself. And I mean, personally, I think that most of my followers know that I'm a wife and I'm a mother of 8, and I'm an author and artist, and I'm, trying to do things and build things, and, for myself as well as for my family. And I feel like, my eyes have been opened majorly in just even the last couple of weeks alone, noticing where I'm like, I don't have any distinct boundaries drawn around me. I am constantly giving and giving, to the point that when I get frustrated, when I get to the point of saying, okay, that's it, then I am almost clawing at that space. I am like, I need my, and it should never get to that point. It should never get to the point that you feel so infringed upon, or so that you're so overwhelmed that now you are literally fighting tooth and nail to find any shred of space for yourself and for your own self-care.
But that's what it takes sometimes. Sometimes, and God has a way, right? Sometimes we have to run right into a wall for us to realize that we have to stop.
Yes.
We have to put on the brakes, and nobody else is going to do it for you.
Yes.
Boundaries are all it's an inside job.
Yes.
It is all about you coming to the place of recognizing that you are overextended, that you are unhealthy, that your mental health is being challenged, your physical health is being challenged, your ability to be the mom, the wife, the daughter, the friend is absolutely destroyed because you have nothing left to give.
Yes.
And I know recently that you have had a trauma when you had your miscarriage.
Yes.
And something like that, a loss like that, will bring you to your knees. It will bring you to a place of recognition that not only am I sad, and not only do I feel inside some kind of a failure, because that's automatically connected to miscarriage for women, but I also feel like I need to take care of myself. And how do I do that? How do I heal myself? How do I move forward? Right? Sometimes things happen in our lives and we can decide how we're going to look at them. It can be that I'm going to fall back and marinate in the misery of it, and I'm going to let it overwhelm me. We are all human and we all need time to process hurt and pain and loss. We have to, but at the same time, we have to also determine how long we're going to let that last. And we have to seek ways to move away from it. We have to move forward. So in the moving forward, we also have to find a way that we carve out space and time for healing, because it does not happen on its own. We have to orchestrate it. And so questions have to be asked. What are the necessary things in my life that I have to deal with that are non-negotiables? Responsibilities, let's name them what they are. Write them down on a sheet of paper, and then assess how much time those things require and those people require, and then carve out time for yourself. It might be once a week for 3 hours that you get out of the house and you have time with your girls to talk about what you need to talk about, to have a cup of coffee. It might be that you need counseling. Let me say loud and clear, if you are one of the very many this year in this special time of long, extended, painful labor of 2020, many people are finding themselves with low grade and high grade depression. We have been separated from our lives, from normalcy, from relationships, from our professions, from the rites and rituals of our lives. If you're somebody graduating high school, going into college, graduating college, imagine that all the rituals we have been able to enjoy, that we have taken for granted, prom, graduation, the budding of adulthood, where you get to go out and experience life and make your mistakes, all that has been put on hold. These young people that has all been taken away from them. And even if they can't process it on a level where they can name it, it is affecting them. All of us who are isolated in our homes, and if we're surrounded by loved ones, as you are, every day, all day, it takes a toll. And what happens is you start to feel claustrophobic. You start to feel like there's nowhere for you to catch fresh air that is yours.
Absolutely.
Listen, over time, this and the regular, everyday living and responsibilities of life, those things are compounded by this underlying thing that won't go away. The politics that are in the air that we cannot escape. Doesn't matter what side you're on of the fence. It is something that is bubbling in all of us. And it's driven by fear and the not knowing what the future holds. That's serious business. The whole aspect of being someone of color, in the heightened tensions and the horror that we have experienced this year in race inequality. Anybody who says it does not listening to themselves.
Right.
So we are living in a pressure cooker right now. There's not been a better time for you to check in with what boundaries are, what they look like, and everybody's boundaries are different. I can give you ideas about what they look like, but according to your life and your needs, you're going to have to assess where you draw the line, what you say no to, who you say no to, how you carve out space for yourself to do the work that you need to do to find peace.
Yes.
Because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
We can't be our optimum selves. We can't be productive. We can't be creative. We can't be fully loving or invested until we come to peace at our center. So the way you do that is through boundaries.
I just recently, you and I talked before. So 2 major things that I did recently to just begin to draw my line is my kids. I faithfully take them to the dentist twice a year. And anything extra that the dentist may find every now and then, or, they need to come in, they need to get their sealants and this, that, and the other. I have not been to the dentist, and I'm going to put myself in the hot seat all throughout this conversation as being the prime example of someone who needs to be better about creating boundaries. I have not been to the dentist in 11 years, and that was when I was pregnant with my twin daughters. When I was pregnant with my twin daughters, I went to the dentist. He said, "Oh, I see a little something, but we'll take care of it after, you have the babies," because, at least at that time, certain dental work you don't want to have done when you're pregnant. My life became all about making sure my kids are going to the doctor, making sure my kids are going to the dentist, making sure my kids have what they need, making sure my husband even has what he needs, getting him, this, that, and the other, getting them here, there, and the other place, doing for everyone else, and not even taking time for the basic need of just schedule your dental appointment. Just go get your teeth cleaned. I floss and I brush twice a day and I do all these things, but we still need our dental appointments. We still need that for ourselves. And the second thing I did, and I'm so proud of myself, well, actually I did 3 things. So I scheduled my dentist appointment. I called a friend and reached out to a friend because I find it very hard for me to reach out to other people. I'm the one that everyone reaches out to. I'm the one who's there. I'm the shoulder. I'm the one who's giving some sort of advice or wisdom, or yes, I will pray. Not only will I pray for you, but I will pray with you. Let's get on the phone right now. I'm the one who says, it doesn't matter what time it is. I'm here for you. See, not right. Creating boundaries for myself. And, but I worked up the nerve. It took me 3 days to send this friend, a close friend, a text message saying that I needed a friend, I needed to talk. It took me 3 days to send the message to her. Finally, I did it, and it was fabulous. It was wonderful. It was definitely a divine conversation because she was needing something in that same respect. She too is someone that doesn't like to reach out to anybody, but is there for everyone else. And then the third thing that I did, I contacted a counselor.
Oh,
I contacted a counselor so that I could speak. And that's the thing. It's like people seem to think like, oh, well, if anyone finds out I've contacted a counselor, they'll think that I've lost my mind. That's not it at all. We all need to create that safe place where we can talk through things, talk through issues, receive some, wisdom and guidance, wise counsel to apply to situations in our lives. That is vital, and that is self-care.
Yes.
And it's like, why do we think that we need permission from who knows what source to give to ourselves, to care for ourselves? These are basic human needs, and we know good and well that we would tell someone else in a heartbeat, you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to set boundaries. You have to make sure that you put you first. You have to make sure that when the plane is in trouble, what does it say? You have to put your mask on yourself first so that you can help someone else. When you have a brand new baby, you cannot breastfeed a child or baby if you are not nourishing yourself, if you are not eating and drinking and taking care of your own needs so that now you can give to your child. You'll be dried up. There will be nothing, you will not be able to supply the basic needs, for your child. That's the same in life. If I do not fill myself up, and then when I give to others, I'm giving from the reserve that's supposed to be for me. And then I'm empty. I'm giving out of overwhelm and not from my overflow.
Right. Well, in the beginning of the book, we have people sign a permission slip to themselves. Why? Because women especially have to raise the consciousness level to the place where I am making a promise and a commitment to myself. You have to give yourself permission, because if you don't give yourself permission, you're constantly defaulting back to, well, I need to do this first. I need to take care of this one first. I need to go here first. I need to do that next. When you give yourself permission, you activate something inside of yourself that says, I deserve this. I deserve it and I need it, and I am no longer going to put myself on the back burner.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to your mental health. I want to go back to that because many times, and especially this year, I talk to a lot of people who don't recognize that what they are suffering through is a depression. And this thing where you wake up in the morning and you feel exhausted before you're even out of bed. This thing where you're stumbling through the day, or you're walking like you're getting through mud constantly. Everything is an effort. Everything is overwhelming. Those are signs of depression. And I am a life coach. The difference between counselors and life coaches, very important, because people kind of mix these up. Counselors help you deal with trauma and heavy mental blocks that keep you from feeling a sense of wholeness. Serious stuff. It could be something that comes from past trauma. It could be something that is affecting you for a long period of time in your present life, a bad relationship, an inability to figure out why you can't accomplish certain things. A life coach is somebody who takes a relatively healthy person and helps them move forward in life. So say you want to change jobs, or say you want to find a healthy relationship or redefine a relationship. Maybe you want to make a move across country and you can't figure out what's holding you back, right? A life coach will come alongside as like a friend, somebody who can help you process through where your blocks are. But mostly life coaches will listen to you as you listen to yourself, to discover what your blocks are, and then we help you make a plan to move forward. So if you're having a heavy sadness and a feeling of being stuck and a feeling that doesn't go away, that impacts your life negatively, you need to see and seek counseling. And right now, there's so many counselors offering affordable counseling. So please do not deny yourself that opportunity, because a counselor is like a blank canvas. They know nothing about you. They will sit alongside as you paint the picture of your life, and they will point out to you things you can't see on that canvas and make it clear so that you can see where your stumbling blocks are, where the things are that are holding help you to create a picture of your life that is beautiful and filled with clarity. You can make choices to move forward, right? Expectations are the poison of our lives. And I write about expectations in the book because the thing that keeps us from setting boundaries are interior and exterior expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Interior expectations are the things that we tell ourselves,
Right.
the things we make up about. In order to be a perfect wife, I need to do this, and this.
Yes.
In order to be a perfect mom, I need to do this, and this. And it goes on and on and on,
Right.
right? Many times, most of the stuff you have on your list is not reality.
Right.
It's stuff we tell ourselves, which sometimes can be born from things other people have told us all our lives. Or we see somewhere else and we get a picture in our lives that they're perfection. These people on television with perfect lives and lots of money and nannies and, all the extras in life that we don't have.
Right.
And then we set ourselves up to believe that's what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
So expectations lead us astray. The only expectations you need to set are the ones that align with your boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And your boundaries are going to be dictated by your life and your circumstances.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's about taking personal inventory about where you are, who you want to be, what direction you want to take in your life. And there are certain challenges that are embedded into every stage of our lives. So the boundaries I have to set now for myself as an almost 60-year-old woman who is free from children and a lot of the responsibilities I had in my 20s, 30s, and 40s, so much easier to set boundaries. When I was in my 20s and just stumbling into life and not knowing a whole lot about what life was going to bring me, I was bouncing off of walls. Many times that's the way we learn, but there's so many things we don't have to learn that way.
Right.
We can get wisdom, right? From drawing your line, read the book, figure out where you are in your life and what is necessary and what isn't, and how to say no to the things that aren't healthy for
Absolutely.
you. In your 30s, you have small kids. Many of us, we're building careers, we have houses, we have bills. Trying to set boundaries is still possible, but the challenges are so much higher at that stage of our lives. So we have to set realistic expectations, right? And understand that this time will pass just like the last, but in the meantime, carve out that space, whatever space you can, for your sanity and your peace. And so on and so on throughout your life. They change over time, all the time, but having a consciousness about what is necessary to set boundaries for your self-protection and your peace is the way you live the abundant life.
Yes. Let's talk about this book.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. You guys, this book is amazing. First of all, I love the cover, being an artist and all. I mean, I'm just saying. For any of my audience who's listening on the audio, then go over to YouTube and you'll be able to see the cover. But this book, when I opened it up, just the contents, the table of contents, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be so good. The titles of choosing your pencil, testing your lead, setting your canvas, sharpening your pencil, sketch your line, draw your line, mark it boldly, and make it permanent. These are the sessions or the chapters, if you will, because it is set up for you to do. It's recommended that you do it in a group setting.
You can also do it independently.
Yes, because I've been doing it. I mean, I've got marks all in the book. You can see I've got little notes taken and pages marked. Session 3, setting your canvas. I was like, oh my goodness. It talks about recognizing your value and honoring your individuality. You wrote a piece, Learning to Love Me First. And it's like that right there is the key. We talked about this before. You said that you just mentioned it. The older you get, the little more challenging it becomes to finally, begin to set those boundaries, especially if you have people in your life, your husband, your children, maybe your parents, friends, whomever, and you've operated in a certain way all along. and they're
Right.
used to you operating like that, and then all of a sudden you come in and you're trying to create boundaries, you're going to get a lot of resistance and a lot of kickback, because
You better be
everybody's going to be
ready.
like, why are you all of a sudden
Yeah.
doing
Who do you
these
think you are?
things? Yes, who do you think you are? This is how it's always been, this is what you've always done, and now you're trying to change the game on people. This with the knowing this section right there, session 3, with knowing your value and recognizing your value and honoring your individuality, it just, for me, solidifies the fact that what we discussed the other day, that you like to get people when they're young. You like to get girls, women, when they're young, so that they can begin to learn what it looks like to set boundaries for yourself, what it looks like to say, this type of a friendship is not okay. This type of a friendship is okay.
Yes.
This type of relationship, with a romantic relationship, is okay. This one is not okay. These are things that I both firmly believe and stand by, and I will not be swayed. These are the things that maybe I can be a little bit flexible on.
Yeah. Building non-negotiables early in life.
Understanding that boundaries are literally a protection and a barrier that guards your voice and your identity. That is like, I feel like that's the key to life. It's the key.
It is. It's a sacred understanding.
Yes.
It is a sacred understanding that you are individually, uniquely created for a purpose in this life. Nobody else can fulfill the purpose that God has put into your life. And when you understand that powerful calling upon your being, and you understand that nobody else can do it, it's about you. And the only way you're going to get to the soul of your purpose in this life is to carve out time and space for that peace and that knowledge of God to fill you, to understand. And yes, it is your job to protect yourself from all that is coming up against you. Some who love you are going to be the very ones who try to steal from you the peace and the freedom you have to make decisions about your life. About your life. They're going to try to define you. They're going to try to shape you. Listen, we are in the business of birthing and raising children and nurturing them to be who God wants them to be. Not who you want them to be.
That's right.
Okay? So when we all develop boundaries, if the world was full of people who had their boundaries in order, respect would be the rule of the day. Because we'd all be able to look at one another and go, oh, well, that's not her thing. That's not something she's into. So we understand that, we respect that. She said no, she doesn't like doing those things, so we're going to leave her alone. And that's just fine, because that's her choice, right? We would have worldwide peace if everybody understood what boundaries are. I like to teach all of this information to girls starting in middle school. High school is a great place to hit them. College, because they're embarking upon their lives. It is such a, I get goosebumps thinking about when I sit with these young women and we go through this program. I have a 4-hour workshop, or we do an 8-week course. So every week we cover the 8 chapters in the book. And I love doing group because they learn from one another. They encourage one another. They motivate one another, and they form bonds that support one another when they leave this class. And they carry this information. But these young women, they tell me things like, I'm breaking up with my boyfriend today. Miss Dawn, I never ever understood things the way you have put them. I never understood. Nobody ever said these things to me before. I never realized that the power was mine. The choice was mine. I just realized that I have been letting life happen to me instead of me navigating my life. They get that. But I've had women in prison in their 70s look at me and say, if I'd have met somebody like you when I was young, my life would have been different. If anybody would have talked to me, excuse me, about any of these things, it would have changed something in my head right? We are born being whole.
Yes.
We are born being everything we're meant to be. But we have to have a knowledge of our worthiness.
Yes.
And the knowledge of our worthiness is supposed to come from people who love
Right.
us. It's supposed to be taught to us, but many times people who love us don't even own their own worthiness.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Right? So how can they teach what they don't know?
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So we have to take responsibility for learning these things and implementing them into our lives for healthiness, for wholeness, to fulfill our
Yes.
purpose.
You were talking a lot about peace. And yesterday you shared something. You said, how do you make the correlation between setting boundaries, which are rules for living the abundant life, and finding hope? Setting boundaries is the way in which we clean up our stuff. We begin saying no to that which is unhealthy, unkind, and unwise, and start saying yes to what gives us peace. Peace births hope. Peace births hope and an outlook on life that says, I'm ready. Are you ready for the goodness of life to fill up all the space you desire to clean out? Oftentimes, we pray and we ask God, give me your peace, right? And constantly, I've been guilty of this day after day. Lord, I just need your peace. I receive your peace. Lord, please give me your peace. Give me your peace. He's up there saying, I'm giving you my peace. I've given it to you. You keep giving it away. God is probably like, girl, I've given it to you.
Right.
What are you doing? You're not protecting it, and you're not guarding it by making sure to set these boundaries and putting things in place. So too many times I'm saying yes to something before I've even thought it through, before I've even stopped to think, okay, do I have time in my schedule to do XYZ? Do I even want? I might have all the time in the world. Yeah, do I even want to do this? Because just because I don't want to do it doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm being rude or cruel or ugly or unkind. It means that I don't want to do it because I want to do something for myself. I need to do XYZ for me. I need to sit around and do nothing that day. I just don't feel like it. And it's okay to not feel like doing something, or to not be at the beck and call, for everyone else. And what's crazy is, if you would have asked me a month ago, or, even 2 weeks ago, if I thought I was pretty good and pretty straight in this area, I probably would have lied to myself and said, oh yeah, sure. But it wasn't until I just really began to just kind of realize, like, wait a second, I am always scratching and clawing at that space for myself. I am always like battling and holding up these shields to try to protect and preserve my own voice. And it shouldn't be that difficult. It should be as simple as, these are the lines that I have drawn for myself, and this is what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do. And sometimes, so there was a part in the book where you talked about us being our boundary the boundary busters. Sometimes I'm my own boundary buster by not staying in my lane. There's a great illustration in the book where you show these different lanes, these different charts of what's mine basically and what's not mine. It's not in my lane, like you said, with our children. My oldest is 26. He's a young man. It's not in my lane to try to make certain decisions for him, to worry about certain things, or I need to make sure that not only am I respecting my own boundaries, but that I'm staying in my space, doing what I
Yeah,
need to do, functioning in the space that I am supposed to function in. And I feel like that's really what God calls us to, right? He has called us to
absolutely.
do certain things. He's like, daughter, this is who I created you to be. These are the things that I've created you to nurture and grow and birth and design and craft and create and send out to the world. I didn't create you to go over here worrying about Sally Sue's issue and predicament. I didn't create.
Yeah, it's Sally Sue's
Exactly. I
job.
didn't create you to cross those boundaries and get in her lane. This is where I need you to be. This is where you are supposed to thrive. This is the grounds that are supposed to be sacred to you and you alone, and you are supposed to protect them. And my peace will be given to you so that you can care for these things and care
That's
for
right.
these particular people and have moments of saying yes or no, or not right now, or why are you even bothering me
Right.
about this?
Or I need a moment to think about
Yes.
that. I'll get back to you.
Right. Why do
Right?
we feel I am the type of person who I'm training myself that, like before, if you would text, I'd feel like I need to text back immediately because I don't want you waiting.
Right.
To the point of, even if I'm involved in doing something, well, it's not an emergency. I need to finish whatever it is I'm doing and then get to a place where then I can text back or I can respond. I'm like, I cannot continuously put those types of expectations on myself that as soon as someone calls, I need to be available. As soon as someone texts,
No.
I need to respond back immediately. That's absurd.
I have been with people so many times out to lunch. I might be sitting with my husband, whatever. My phone will ring or it'll let me know that I have a
Mm-hmm.
text or whatever. And I ignore it. And they'll look at me and go, aren't you going to get that? And I go, well, I don't do surgery, so nobody's going to die. And I will get back to them because when I'm with you, I'm with
Yes.
you. When I am doing something, these things are, are magnets.
Yes.
They will control your every moment if you let them. I purposely leave my phone, especially like if I'm waiting for something to happen, feedback or a message or whatever, and I'm eagerly awaiting it. The way that I get it fast is to leave my phone somewhere.
Right. Right.
Because as soon as you leave the phone,
Yes.
everybody in the universe is going to be
Yes.
reaching out, right? So you come back to the phone an hour later and, oh my gosh, everything is happening, right? And so I've trained myself to just leave the phone a couple of times a day in another part of the house away from my
Mm-hmm.
office so I can just concentrate on what I'm doing. But if I am engaging with people that I want to be with, I
Right.
am not going to bother with my phone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Beyond a shadow of a
It
doubt.
takes
Mm-hmm.
practice.
It
And this whole
does.
thing about
Yes.
it is the whole book is about raising your consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
becoming aware of the fact that we are in control of our
Right.
lives. We make the choices of our lives with
Mm-hmm.
people, with things, with responsibilities, with commitments. We choose them. Nobody holds a gun to your head and says,
Right.
you absolutely have to choose to be on that committee. You know,
Yes.
you are the one who gives away your yes.
Right.
So you need to take control of your yes, and you need to be able to hold it for yourself.
Mm-hmm. You
Say
just
yes to you first.
Yes. See, listen, I just opened the book as you were speaking and turned directly to the spot where you say, saying yes all the time won't make me Wonder Woman. It will make me a worn out woman.
Those are the words of Allison Smith, my co-writer,
Yes.
my good friend in Christ, and she's a life coach who lives in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together on a small team for Chevron. We were former educators who worked with college campuses. And we got to be really good friends. And when I got certified to life coach about 8 years ago, she followed right behind me and got her certification
Mm-hmm.
because I had been doing life coaching for years through my church, working in prisons, working with women's groups. And I decided I really wanted to do it for a living
Right.
because I fell in love with the work. And so when this book started, God started downloading this information, because all the work I did with women through my divorce class, through my work with mothers returning to their kids after leaving prison, um, the, 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 the conversation that kept coming up over and over again was boundaries. This thing about boundaries, this thing that, I don't know why, but I had a heightened awareness of in the way I was
Yes.
raised, in the way I just picked up clues along the way in life that I had to take care of myself. And so I started talking to these women about, well, that's the issue of boundaries. I mean, you are in this situation because you allowed this. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
We experience what we experience in life based on what we allow. People treat us according to the way we
That's
allow them
right.
to treat us. And people who love you, even when you decide to make changes in your life and you decide to go the route of boundaries, get ready for
Oh, yes.
backlash, because people are going to say, who do you think? Well, what is up with you? Oh my goodness. Well, we got used to relying on you. You're the one who always ran our,
Right.
bake sales. So what are we going to do now? You have to learn how to gracefully, and in the book we talk about ways to gracefully respond to expectations that
Yes.
you no longer want to meet. And we have to also understand that when we decide to make the changes and implement boundaries, we have to expect the backlash, the negative comments. And when we get them, instead of responding negatively or feeling angry, we need to take that with grace and be grateful, because it is a sign that
Yes.
you have
That's
changed.
right.
It is a clue, a clue to you, a recognition internally that, okay, my boundaries are working,
Right.
right? People are starting to hear me. And so they may be uncomfortable, and it may take them time to make the shift. I'll tell you one quick story about how I knew I had started to make changes. When I decided to set boundaries, was when I consciously decided to set boundaries in my life. I was going through a divorce. And divorces trigger the worst in us. You are hurt, you are insecure. Every worst impulse that you have is going to come out, because this person that you have entrusted with your life, you no longer feel you can trust them, and you don't know them anymore. And so you're lashing out. Well, I was working in a Christian school, and God sent this woman to come alongside me. And this woman was a divorce counselor, Christian divorce
Wow.
counselor, who talked to me about, she said, what do you want out of your divorce? What are the long-term goals? And I said, I want my children to be healthy. I don't want my children to be statistics, because I never planned on being divorced. She said, she smiled and she looked at me and she said, you're going to have to take the reins. I said, what does that mean? She said, you're going to have to change the dynamics of your relationship with your ex-husband. And it's going to be long and hard. But if you can reframe this relationship into one of friendship, knowing that you and he are going to be family for the rest of your lives as long as you share children, if you can change that, your children are going to still have two healthy, whole parents who can be in the same space together and function as a family, and that will save
Wow.
them. So she taught me how to speak to him. Even in my most frustrated times, she taught me that it is going to take a long time for you to teach him a new way of speaking to you, a new way of seeing you, and to trust that this is not a game, this is a new you. So many times I had to bite my tongue in a conversation where I would go down the rabbit hole and we'd start the whole, I would be the one to say, we are getting nowhere in this conversation. I'm going to hang up. I am not going to hang up on you. I'm hanging up on the conversation. And we can pick this up when we have both had a chance to think and to come back to the conversation with positive input so that we can find a solution.
Yes.
So I'm hanging up now. I'll talk to you soon. Be well. And I'd hang up. When I first started doing that, it would drive him crazy. He would call me back and he'd go, I can't believe you hung up on me. And I'd never pick up the phone the same day. The next day I'd pick up the phone and I'd say, I'm glad you called. Are you ready to talk? Right? And I'd start the conversation with, we were discussing blah, blah, blah. I had bullet points written down. I believe we left off here. And my voice was always calm and in control. I knew what I wanted to talk about. I was not going off script. And when he did, I would say, I don't want to have to hang up. So can you please take a deep breath so we can get back on topic? And if he got angry, I would say, I'm hanging up the phone now, because I'm not hanging up on you. I'm hanging up on the conversation.
Yes.
We're not getting anywhere. 6 months of me bleeding in my mouth.
Right.
Because I refuse to do the same old things over and over again. That's what boundary setting looks like. But when you stay the course and you learn the language of boundaries, which is in the book, and you learn to implement these simple phrases that will stop a boundary buster in their tracks and start to make them see you differently. Some are not going to be able to handle it, and they will exit your life. They will see you from a distance, and that's what it takes. The ones who love you will learn to adjust.
That's right.
And they'll learn in the long run to respect you. And they'll learn from you how to respect themselves.
Absolutely.
You watch.
Absolutely. My goodness. Is there, before we go, one key thing or activity or some actionable step that the ladies can begin or try to do today to begin to, aside from getting this book, y'all need to go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and get this book, Drawing Your Line. You must get it. It is a must have. I promise you, it's a piece of weapon you need to have in your arsenal. But is there one activity or thing that they can do right now, as soon as they're done listening to us, to begin to maybe assess or establish, or maybe even see where they are in terms of boundary setting, or establish a boundary for themselves?
Well, first of all, I've laid out all kinds of charts in the book that really help you to do that, and it takes you step by step. There are stories in the book, there's music in the book, there's poetry in the book, there's journaling all the way through for you to start to flesh out for yourself where you are, what your values are, what's important, how you want to assign value to those things, and how you want to restructure your life and reframe time for you. But the first thing I would say is you have to be in a more positive place with yourself. And in order to do that, we have to turn off this voice in our head that tells us we're not worthy of this, that we're not worthy of taking time and doing work for ourselves to feel healthier, stronger, wholer. So I have written a gratitude journal for the last 15 years. I used to write in it every day when I needed to, when I first started and I needed to unload it. And a gratitude journal is not about pie in the sky and Pollyanna looking for all the, well, today I made a rainbow. It is about, Lord, today I had a real challenge. I needed $20 to buy something I really needed, and I realized my budget couldn't afford it, and it just brought home to me how I'm struggling. But Lord, I know that you are going to take care of this, and you are going to give me what I need. And maybe this thing that I was looking for is not something that I need. So I'm going to thank you in advance for the way you settle this. And you show me how we're going to move forward from this and what's next on the agenda. So it might be I had a real bad conversation today with my boss, and it really upset me because he pointed out some ways that I'm failing, and it made me feel bad. But on the drive home, I had a chance to talk to you in the car, and you pointed out to me how valuable that information was. And these are things I can change and make better about myself. So I'm grateful for this information, and I am determined to be the person I need to be now, moving forward. A gratitude journal is about recording the miracles that God implants in your life. It's about taking the challenges and finding the positives, and it's about the long-term journey, when I look back at my journal over time, I see God's hand in my life.
Yes.
And it is the story of me and God, and how God has saved me over and over and redirected me and grown me and made me who I am today to do the work that I do. So I would start by sitting down and writing every day, giving yourself 10 minutes if that's all you
Yes.
have. Get yourself a journal and write down something good that happened every day. Write down the challenges and what you hope to get out of them. My journal was a letter between me and God, and it still is.
Yes.
And every day I have an entry. I ended by saying, thank you for all your blessings. Yours, thank you for loving me. Your favorite, me.
Yeah.
That's how I end my journal
Yes.
every day, because it is between me and God can do all things. So start this journey, and I guarantee you your life will be
And
changed.
I mean, I agree with that. I do the same thing, and I end it with your butterfly. Yes. You know how I am about God. About butterflies, and he speaks to me through them. But I do the same thing, and that I feel like doing that also, it births hope.
Yes.
It when you can be thankful, even when I suffered the miscarriage, you know what I walked away with? I said, Lord, because I was 47 when I'm 48 now, I was 47 when we found out that I was pregnant. It certainly was not anything on our radar. We were not trying for a baby, and most women my age are not walking around just getting pregnant every day,
Right.
We had the miscarriage, but I told the Lord, I said, thank you. And I wrote it. It's like, thank you for the opportunity to even be able to feel that joy and that expectation again, that excitement, to feel that again, that alone made that suffering worth it.
But don't you know that that is born in you because you spiritual level, that you can receive the truth about what God intends for this life? He says things are not going to be perfect in the
That's
Bible.
right. That's right.
He doesn't promise us that we're not going to suffer. What he promises is that he's never going to leave us.
That's right.
And knowing that sustains us.
Yes.
And hope is born out of that.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So you cannot birth hope if you are in the shadows, if you are silenced, if you are stuffing down pain constantly and silencing yourself.
Right.
You have got to find your voice.
Yes.
And you've got to make your voice sing out in a resilient, beautiful, radiant yes.
Yes.
Yes to God, yes to the universe, yes to yourself.
That's right.
That is where hope is born.
Right. And ultimately, when we draw these lines and we create boundaries, we create more space for hope in our lives. We create more time for God in our lives.
Yes.
More time where he can teach us and show us these things.
And guide us toward our purpose.
Yes.
In the peace is where that inspiration flows for a writer, for a reader, for an artist, for a podcaster, for somebody with your brilliance, with 8 children and a husband, and all that brings for you to be able to create all the beauty that you do, all the wisdom that you share, and all the love that you pour out. Babe, that doesn't just happen. It has to come from a place that God holds sacred.
Yes.
And it is within us. It's at first a desire, and then it is a sacred thing we have to carve out and protect for ourselves. That's why boundaries are necessary.
Amen. So you've got a class coming up. You've got a class coming up tonight. Is your November class, November 4th and November
4th and November 11th.
It's a two-part class.
So we're going to do 2 hours, 6 to 8 Central Time on both nights, Wednesday nights. And if you can't sign up for this class, you can sign up for the one in December, which is going to be posted in the next week or so. If you're interested, you can reach out to me at my email address, which Dawn has posted, or you can go to my website at precipicelifecoaching.com. And you can call me or email me, and I'll get you on the list for the December class.
Yes.
but it's really focused on the book. All of my classes come straight from the book. And depending on how long the class is, it's condensed. I do a really wonderful 4-hour workshop, which a lot of my colleges and high schools prefer because they can't do the 8-week, but it's power packed, and it's a time to really be committed in a group setting, learning each other's stories and supporting one another, and learning that we are so much alike as women. We are so wired to be who we are, and we come alongside each other as sisters.
Yes.
And there's not one story I've heard yet that somebody in a group hasn't concurred. So know that, there's power in coming to the table and laying it all down, and in a safe space where everybody is committed to growth.
Yes.
So I invite everybody to pick up the book. If you can't join the class, you can do it on your own and really discover. But once you do this work, you're going to want to talk to people.
Oh this.
You're going to want to share this information.
That's all I've been wanting to do. It probably had a. This book is amazing. It is amazingly written. It is so well put together, and it literally does take you step by step. And your eyes will be opened. Your eyes will be open even to things, even if you thought that you had a pretty good handle on boundaries, your eyes will be open to some things that you're doing that's sabotaging your own boundaries, or things that you're allowing into your life that's really stopping you from drawing your line. Dawn, thank you.
I just love
this. Is wonderful. I love you too. I love you.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Continue this wonderful work.
I shall. You do the same.
Thank you, baby.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Birthing Hope podcast. If you know an inspirational woman whose life and experiences carry a message of hope, then email me at creator@birthinghope.com. I'd love to invite her to the conversation. Or perhaps you are that woman. Also, visit the website at birthinghope.com. There, you'll find links to subscribe and download so you'll never miss an episode. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Birthing Hope Official. And remember, subscribe to this channel. Until next time, remember, create your best hope-filled life.